Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. I'm excited to get started with another day of discussion around essential services within the federal market, in particular VA today. Really quickly, though, before I get started, do me a favor and tell me, how did you find today's training? I know you're probably tracking on it, but like, did LinkedIn give you a heads up notification? Did you have it on your calendar and you just came? Some people talk about it's hard to find sometimes, which is a little confusing to me, and I'm trying to figure out how to fix that. And if I understand how you found or came in, it'll help me be able to make this better for everybody. So let me know. I mean, did something pop up on your phone, on your computer? Did you just know to come? Throw that in the chat for me, would you? As we get rocking and rolling. It's funny, I've been talking about this one particular book and I don't have it. But I do want to share a book with you. And if you've been watching my training, you know exactly what I'm going to show is 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. One of the biggest lessons I ever learned is that anybody can learn when times are down. It's when times are up is when you should be learning and really growing. Like, don't just rest back on your heels or something. Well, times are a little down, I would submit, in the federal market. And so now's the time to be learning. And 7 Habits for Highly Effective People is a really good foundational skill set around 7 habits. And this will impact you personally and professionally. I love the book in audio format. I highly encourage you to get that, because Stephen Covey himself, who wrote the book, he narrates the entire book. And when you go through, you feel it's as if you're in a live session with him and he's talking, but there's a lot that comes out on hearing it. But anyways, consider getting that as we get rocking and rolling. And thanks for those of you putting in how you heard about it. I'll come back and take a look at that in a minute or after the training. Okay, so let's get rocking and rolling on today's training. So today we're going to be talking about essential services with the VA. I'm covering down on this all week, and I'll probably be talking about it at various levels through March, April, May. I can see this going on for a little bit. But what I'm talking about is how can you look at and identify essential services in the VA. One truism that is out there that I'm saying each day that I do this training related to essential services is that DOGE in the federal market, it is definitely hammering everybody. It's indiscriminate, it is brutal, and it's attacking every part of the federal market. So the federal market includes industry, us, right? And it includes the federal buyer, the federal employees. And so the federal employers are being laid off in a large amount. I could see that being 200,000 or 300,000 by the time this whole exercise is done, which is going to be really negatively impacting, I believe. It's hitting small and large businesses. I have here where GSA notified large primes, the largest multi-billion-dollar firms, saying, hey, you've got these professional service contracts, consulting contracts to the tune of $65 billion in 2025 with out years as well. And they were just like, we're going to get rid of those. And now they're all in kind of discussions, but they're just cutting. And so VA in particular, who we're going to talk about today, VA just yesterday, I think, announced, and today, by the way, literally, I do these lives. I sometimes get people go, is this live? It's like, of course it's live. If it was recorded, I'd look better. I'd sound better. But the VA just yesterday, right? They announced that they're canceling 585 non-essential contracts. These are professional services. If you don't know this, there's 10 common goods that the federal buyer buys, and one of them is professional services. IT is not even part of that. IT is its own separate category. So these contracts are coming out of consulting world, the professional services, administrative contracts, et cetera. And just as an aside, so you understand where this is going, the VA has 90,000 contracts, and about 2,000 of them are professional services, and they just canceled 585, right? And so they're looking around. You're going to hear me talk about this more today. The advice I'm giving to you is from obviously my experience, but my experience only prepares me to be able to deal with today. But it's not like I've dealt like a problem like this before. In the beginning, I was saying, well, I've been through sequestrations and rifts and these other things, but this is brutal. Those were all just necessary, tough things we had to go through or something. And so in here, the key is we experts are constantly monitoring. Our experience allows us to kind of react faster and create a plan to move forward. And that's what I'm doing for my customers, and that's what I'm sharing with you. Anything I'm kind of sharing with them, I'm actually doing it with them. But with you, I will share the exact same thinking that I have. There's this book called Who Moved My Cheese? And if you haven't got it, get it. It is a 1 hour to 3 hour read. It's a very fast read. And I've talked about this book numerous times in trainings over the years, but it's in particular really important because basically the cheese are the contracts. And we used to have a steady drip of contracts. They would come here, we'd just go get any one we want. They would last for 5 or 10 years, et cetera, right? Well, that's all changed. There's no more contracts really flowing from this cheese station. And somebody moved our cheese. DOGE moved our cheese, right? And so we need to go look for the cheese. And that's kind of the whole purpose of today's training. And the way that I do the training is trying to focus you on, let's go find the contracts. Let's go find out where they are spending because our customer is continuing to spend. So if that's what you're here for today on the training, put show me the cheese in the chat. Give me a little fun. I see the chat over there. And if I see a bunch of show me the cheese, it gives me a lot of energy. And I appreciate getting that from you since I can't see your smiley face. Okay, so again, we're going to be talking about making your company. When I say essential to the VA, I mean aligning your company to what the VA considers essential work compared to non-essential. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So today's training, essential services within the VA, that'll DOGE proof, meaning DOGE is not going after essential services and agencies. They're trying to look for, among other things, they're looking at non-essential work. Why are we doing that? And it's a whole separate conversation on the value of non-essential services. But I'm going to talk about VA in particular, what essential services and functions that are in there so that you can align yourself to that. Then I'm going to talk about how to protect existing contracts you might have within the VA against DOGE. And I am saying against DOGE because they have aligned, they have positioned themselves as kind of the enemy of the small business out here. They're just cutting indiscriminately. They're not thinking about the impact to employees or to communities or to the business owners who have taken the time and the risk to build businesses and serve the federal market. So they are acting like a complete attack to us. And I want to figure out how to fight that. You can't fight it direct on, so you got to fight it strategically. And that's what I'm talking about. And then last thing I'm going to talk about is steps you can take to try to find essential opportunities that might align more to the strategic mission of the VA compared to the stuff that is non-essential and puts you at more risk to losing revenue. So that's what we're going to cover down here. Thank you very much for everybody saying, show me the cheese. I hope you're getting a little bit of energy out of just seeing everybody else say, show me. I think Thomas has just got extra credit there with show me the cheese. He's watched Jerry Maguire before, probably. All right, if you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am co-founder of GovCon in a Box, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner after I got out of the Army, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting, it's not a secret, it's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. That's what I'm here to do every day, is to try to help you get to that stage of repeatable and predictable results. If you're not connected with me on LinkedIn already, connect with me. And if you use the actual connect, make sure you send me a note and tell me, hey, I saw you in the training. Otherwise, just you can follow me, which is kind of the same as connecting. You'll make sure you see my content. The other thing, by the way, if you don't know this, and I should have shared, and I'll share tomorrow, but you can go into a person's profile like mine. If you look right at it, underneath my banner in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a bell. And when you click on the bell, you'll see 3 options. Choose the top option that says, tell me everything Neil's sharing out there. If he's got a post, let me know. And my commitment to you is that I will try to never waste your time with a post of mine. It'll always be federal sales related one way or another. And you can always unfollow or lessen it. But you want to make sure you see what I'm putting out, because I'm trying to put out stuff that you would be expecting people inside your company to be doing. All right. And then the other thing is make sure you subscribe to the Government Contracting Success newsletter. My newsletter is the largest one on LinkedIn in the GovCon space, over 22,000, almost 23,000 people who are on there. And it's because we put out that good information. Last thing on this slide is tomorrow's training, similar to today, is focused on VA. Tomorrow I'm focusing on HHS, and Friday I'll be focusing on the Air Force. So if you plan on coming to it, please go register. Let me know you're coming. When you register, LinkedIn lets more people know, hey, there's this training. You might be interested. So let's work together on that. Okay, VA essential or mission critical functions or areas that are in there, strategic areas. Before I go into the VA in particular, I just want to talk generally about the federal government. Federal agencies have essential and non-essential task or work areas, right? Essential are ones that must keep running. They must be done even if there's no funding from Congress, if something happens. So the VA's mission, I'll talk about this in a minute, right, is to care for those who have served. Those mission critical work gets done by federal employees and contractors. If you're doing essential work, and if you've been at this long enough, like me, you have experienced this, you keep doing that work, and sometimes you keep doing it and you don't get paid. The worst part is that when that happens, sometimes you can't even get paid back as a contractor or federal government if you lose that kind of thing. Non-essential or support work. So just think mission critical and then support activities. But every single agency has some contingency type plan that says what is essential and what's not essential. So just go to the VA's website and you can find this document in there, and they lay it out. The VA actually has 3 documents I have shared in the past, as recently as 2024. And they're all like 200 or 300 pages each that just lay out every single branch and division within the VA and what's mission critical to what they're doing. So the other thing I want you to pay attention to in these top 2 bullets is that it's not just the federal government that has essential and non-essential. This is really important for us to understand as business people, salespeople, et cetera, is that every customer we have has some things that are essential to their mission operation and some that are not. So a business might typically what's essential to them is revenue and growth, right? And what's not essential to them might be, refurbishing the office. That's something they want to get done. They're budgeting next year, but if they have to cut costs, that's what they're going to cut first before they cut sales, as an example. Let's talk more specifically about the VA and what's essential to them. The VA exists, and I loved how they said this. There's this sacred obligation that the VA has. And so the VA exists to care for those who have served. Those are veterans, right? Those are the people who have joined the military services, done our time, and come back. And there's this sacred obligation that the country has made with the veterans of our country to say, we will take care of you. And so there's 3 main mission critical areas you want to pay attention to. You got to go in and dig a little bit more. I'm going to give it to you at kind of a high level here, just because I only have 30 minutes. But the first one is veteran healthcare services. My last company, our biggest customer was the VA. Actually, it was like our biggest customer, but it was also where we started with our customer, our company, and what we were able to grow. And it was all on the veteran healthcare side. So that's what VHA stands for, is Veteran Health Administration. And that's the hospitals. So there's like 150 VA medical centers, these campuses, and they all have like 6 or 8 outpatient centers, maybe 800 or 1,000 of those. And so this is the healthcare that we're doing all around the country. These doctors, nurses, et cetera, are in these hospitals serving the veterans. That is something that is mission critical and will never stop. Even if there's no funding, the VA still needs to take care of the vets to make sure they're having any of the physical or mental health care problems that they have being addressed and taken care of. The second mission critical area for the VA are veterans benefit delivery or benefits delivery. And so basically this means delivering the benefits that the Veteran Benefit Administration serves. And I've gone through this myself as a veteran. I haven't touched on the healthcare, ironically, as a vet. I've never used their hospitals, but number 2 here, veteran benefit, I certainly have. I used the GI Bill when I came out. There's vocational rehabilitation. So the GI Bill is this benefit we get when we come in and serve and we hit a certain period so that we can go have higher education, or vocational rehabilitation, trying to be able to train you for the jobs you can do with the capabilities you have. The first bullet I had here was disability compensation. If you're familiar with SDVOSB, that stands for Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business. And that disability compensation is what they get. My nephew was in the Marines during the second. So I was in the first Iraq War, or the first, well, I call it first Iraq War and second Iraq War, but he was in the Marines there, and he's 100% disabled. And so this care for him and his family has to continue. Other ones, pension payments, right? All these vets, especially the older vets, where they really had some really good pensions. They've changed a little bit as they've gone along, but those pension payments still have to go out. Home loans, people are still trying to buy homes. And so I don't know if you know this, but we veterans get if you're familiar with FHA loans, well, we have VA loans that allow us to be able to really get access to home loans easier. Now I tend to have to put a down payment, but I never had to put a down payment down on a house because the VA guaranteed the loan, basically. And so this is a huge benefit to veterans who are coming out, they're starting families or moving into houses, et cetera. So Veterans Benefits Delivery is the second mission critical one. And the third one is around the National Cemeteries Administration. This is the memorial and burial services. The most famous one is Arlington Cemetery, but there's like 155 cemeteries that the VA manages around the country, and the services that go with that, those are not interrupted. Those are mission critical. And so when you think about aligning yourself to what the VA does, these are the mission critical ones, and you really want to dig even further into them as you go forward. The next slide here, I talk about the opposite of that. What are some examples of in the VA of things that are non-mission critical or non-essential is what they call them, right? And these are still very important. Don't get it wrong, right? Just because it's considered non-essential, it's doesn't mean that it's not really, really important to the VA and to the veterans. So first example I have here is administrative overhead. So think about all those hospitals I talked about. Think about headquarters down in DC where they're doing policy and procedure stuff, et cetera, or typical support services that you might find out there, help desk, whatever. These things are non-essential. What it means is if I have to cut costs, that's where I start cutting costs. I start getting rid of maybe some of the middle management that are at hospitals. Non-healthcare training and travel. And I put here specifically non-healthcare training because training is being cut, but there's certain training that won't get cut because it is considered mission critical. And it's this training around the suicide prevention side, the nurses and doctors, what they have. These are called competencies within the VA, and these core competencies that they have to do their job, sometimes that training is really important. We've got new machines or new medicine, et cetera. So that goes away. But non-healthcare training, you might even think about like cybersecurity training, that type of thing goes away. And then travel for sure. I was going to go South by Southwest and speak with DOD, and it got canceled. It was this week. So it got canceled, and all the people who worked really hard on that had to sit there and just stay back. And so these things are being, they're non-essential, so they're being cut right now. The third one I have here is lower priority IT projects and modernization. So there's two types of modernization. There's modernization in IT services related directly to the healthcare or the taking care of the veterans. And then there's generic modernization of the IT. We might want to upgrade our network systems or infrastructure or something. That can be put off until the budgeting comes around for that so that the focus can be on the healthcare. And then the last one is research pilot programs. This is a big deal. I think like 80% of research and development is on a year-by-year kind of a basis. And so when funding gets cut, the innovation side and the research kind of takes a hit. I heard somebody recently talking about they didn't think the innovation side would be hit, but that is actually called out in agencies' documents. When the funding is getting tighter and tighter, innovation will get hit. And I'm not trying to call it out separately because there's all sorts of non-essential work that a lot of us do that we wish would keep going. But this is my breakdown of those two things, right? Mission critical or essential services and non-essential. And what I want you to do is to really figure out, it doesn't mean you can't do the non-essential, but you need to be doing essential. You need to figure out that. And we'll talk about that more in a second. Before I do, I did just want to thank Graham for being one of the sponsors. This is something new I'm going to start doing where I have sponsors helping out with the lives. We do this 5 days a week. I've done over 600 of these in the last 3 years, and we're not the SBA. We're not getting grant money from anybody. We don't get large companies coming in saying, hey, we'll sponsor you. This is on me, right? This is on my companies and our commitment to the industry. And so I'm happy to throw in sponsors here on this one slide midway and say thank you. Let me know how you feel about it as I go forward. But Graham has been a big support of ours. You've heard me talk about it before, and I just want to thank them. If you are a company trying to serve the small business community, consider putting your, committing to sponsor us in here. I'm running at about a 5 million plus view count annually. So what that means is every week, every 7 days, I'm getting over 100,000. Right now I'm at 160,000 views. So I get a lot of visibility. If that sounds interesting to you, feel free to reach out. Thanks to the sponsors. Okay, so let's talk about how to protect your current contract against DOGE, right? The first thing is we talked about the VA essential areas, those strategic areas. So make sure you get in and align the task areas within your contract to those 3 main critical areas. You want to even refine the language, which I'll talk about more in a second, but it begins with looking at the scope of work in your contract and aligning it out there. Second thing is to tie contracts to keeping, I left this in here. You cut me a little slack. Instead of keeping the nation safe, what I want you to do is tie your contract to the veterans, making sure we're serving those who served. And so in this particular case, tie your contract back to that main line of, are you taking care of the veterans? And by the way, you can use this in almost every agency. An example is the FBI. What I always said in the VA when I served it is, and I talked to my company, my staff about this, is we need to keep in mind closest to the vet. Anything we do, anything anybody asks, the closer it is to the vet, the more it aligns with what we want to do, and the more it aligns to what the VA does. Well, the FBI, it's the agent. So the closer to the agent, the better, because the agent, for the most part, right, is the one out there in the field doing the work. And when you do that and you look at organizations like the Forest Service, you could say closest to the ranger or something, that, not the Army Ranger, but like a forest ranger. And so keep that in mind. The third one, use mission critical language. So you do quarterly reports, weekly reports, monthly reports, whatever it is, start using mission critical language. Look at how the VA describes that mission criticality around veteran benefit or health administration, for example, and then weave that language in. From this point forward, when you say we've done this, make sure it is using language that sounds like, wow, they're doing mission critical stuff. And Elon Musk has got everybody, saying respond with the last 5 things you've done, or 5 things you did last week or something. Make sure whatever you say in there, the language is directly related to the VA's critical tasks. And then this last bullet in the black here is document why your contract is essential. You need to look at that contract and fully understand and then communicate why it is essential to the VA and it should not be cut off. It shouldn't even be considered to be cut off. It's not non-essential, it's essential. That's up to you to define that. Don't wait for the customer to do that. But you can talk to your KO, your core, your program office personnel that you're working with at the VA, and you can talk to your subcontractors and anybody who's in your company working on that contract. Say, we need to DOGE-proof this. We need to sit there and figure out why this contract is essential. If you can't do it, then why would we expect DOGE to think it's essential? And now you're at risk, right? I'm not trying to be mean here, but I am trying to be a little tough love, if you will. And that goes into this last bullet. Designate a Doger in your company. I'm not sure if that phrase that word will stay around like Google does or something, but you want to get somebody in your company whose job is to be Elon Musk's Doge employee and looking at you as if they want to sit there and come at your contract, and the rest of you defend it. This is called role playing. We do this in sales when we're going to go into a meeting. We ask questions. Somebody else goes, well, I object, and I have to practice overcoming the objections. That's what you want to do here, is have your team, the most of you, figure out how to deal with those things, the objections a Doger would say. And so just do that yourself, and you'll control your future a lot better than if you don't do it. All right, I got 6 minutes left. Here's some steps on how to find essential opportunities, is what I'm calling them. So opportunities that are in the mission critical area. You need to do that research, right? I have a 7-step process for federal revenue success, and it begins with research, understanding the VA and understanding their mission critical areas. When you do, then map what you sell to those critical function areas. You want to do that so that you're showing that what you're selling is basically essential services, not non-essential services. You can create new opportunities. I've talked about this in many of my trainings, where every single company should be thinking about how they can do an AI play into what you're doing. And so think about how to add something in there. And you can go back and watch some of my previous training, and I give you really good examples of how to do that and how to find partners to team up with. Make sure you're aligning your mission critical functions, or you're aligning yourself to the mission critical functions of the VA, the VBA, and the NCA. And what I mean by this is this one's way easier than other agencies. Other agencies, you might wonder which one's doing the priority. Here, it's really clear. Healthcare, if that's your world, is VHA. Benefits are BA, and CA is the cemetery side. But look in there and figure it out. And the reason I want you to do that is because I want you to understand who within the VA is doing this activity that you can go in and talk to. I update your marketing assets, but I'm going to skip past the next one, number 4, because I want to tell the story. Identify 200 people at the VA. That's how you're going to find opportunities, is getting in and talking to people. This takes work. My 7-step process for federal revenue success starts with research. Second thing is targeting, building a list of 200 people that you can go talk to. I was talking to a customer of mine yesterday afternoon. We were having a meeting about NASA. Actually, we're talking about it generally. I need to get a prime contract. I really want to go after an essential contract. And then we tightened it down a little bit. And he goes, you know what? I really want to get into Goddard and Goddard Space Center for NASA. I said, well, let's go to town. Let's go figure it out. And he didn't know anybody in there. That was his problem. And literally within 10 minutes, I showed him how to build a list of, we were at 75 people within 10 minutes. And I teach you how to do this in many, many other trainings I have. But basically, we went into FPDS. And from FPDS, it led us to the offices that were awarding contracts, which then led us to program office people. And then we had this list of people that were out there. So we built a list of 200 folks. You can do that yourself. You literally can do this. And if you already have prime contracts, subcontracts, then you should be pretty comfortable with the way I've taught about it. But you can find it in other training. Once you have the list, the 3rd step of the process is outreach. Reach out to these people, talk to them. And my guidance is make sure you're fully prepared. Don't go in there asking them what's going on. Go in there and talk about, hey, I know you're going this direction, this mission critical thing. I'd like to talk to you about it. I'd like to pick your brain a little bit more on what you're thinking and share some of our ideas and find out what you think. The biggest takeaway on that slide, though, is get out there and talk to the VA. Get in there and have meetings. Yes, there are a lot of people having challenges. Yes, there are a lot of people who are worried about their job, but sales still goes on. And fundamentally, at the moment, we're talking about sales. They still need experts like you, and you still need customers like them. So, if you get out there and start talking to the VA, you'll be able to start finding those opportunities. By the way, just the last night, I put out another one of my yellow boxes. I'm a big proponent of going after RFIs, but there's like 1,054 RFIs that are due in the next 30 days. I've never seen this many before, right? And so it's important for you to go through and figure them out, but there's still buying going on despite all this stuff going on. So here's what I want you to remember. Know what the VA considers essential and align yourself to that essential work. And then anything you say, your marketing material, your reporting, et cetera, speak their essential language. Any RFI from this point forward, make it seem more essential than they even said. And then the last thing is 10x your effort, right? Right now, when things get a little tough, this is when we double down, right? I don't know if you've noticed, even with me, I now do a post in the morning, a post at night, and a live during the day. That's a lot for anybody to do. But I just 10x my effort because I really want to push and reach folks out there, right? I want to create this movement. I have this thing I want. And so I 10x my efforts and I begin to get what I want. I believe you can get what you want, that growth within your company, if you 10x your effort and get in and talk to the VA. Hopefully you found this valuable. Don't forget, go check out govconinAbox.com. We've built some really good free tools you can find right on there. It is a subscription. Don't worry about that if it's not what you're doing. I want you to get in there and check your federal visibility score. Make sure buyers can find you. They're still buying. They need to be able to find you. Go to GovCon in a box. I show you how to do that on there. And for all of you, as you move through your day, just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is ending on time. I'm out of time. I will see you tomorrow.